this computer. Okay, so that took a while.
Let me
If
see
there's
this.
anything you guys want me to edit out like this, just wave your hand or something like that, and I'll just take it out. Uh, it's just more fun when you can speak a little bit more freely. Okay, so we're going to talk about Mark Edwards, and this is his birthday. Is this his official birthday, Susan?
The 19th.
Okay. The 19th.
Nice.
Okay. Um, and joining us today, special guest Susan Gerbic. Worked alongside Mark for many years, even during his early years as the psychic, or debunking psychics after that, right? I believe?
We met in 2009.
2009, okay.
So he was already kind of out of the psychic business.
Okay, yeah, debunking then,
Yeah, it wouldn't have gone well with me.
right? But man, what a career. And we get to talk a lot about that. I'm hoping we cover his career. Because last time you were here, we didn't really mention much of his past. So hopefully we can touch base on that, because I don't want the memory to fade of Mark. He did so much. And so did you, because you were right there with him.
Yeah.
And you've been sharing secrets here and there, and don't think I'm not watching them. God.
I'm happy to open up
You
the
know?
books to you guys. I really don't. It doesn't bother me at all. I'm not a mentalist,
Yeah.
so I'm under no code.
Okay.
Right.
So that's official. That's Susan Gerbic.
You got it. You got it.
joining
You
us.
got it on video.
Okay, so how about we spotlight you? There we go.
Oh wow.
There, yeah, right?
Okay, so today would have been Mark Edwards' 75th birthday. So he was taken way too early. So all you guys out there, make sure you're getting your prostates checked. Thank you very much. Do that
Right.
in honor of Mark, because that's what finally got him. Anyway, and women, make sure you're getting your checkups too. So I have a small presentation, and you guys are happy. I'm happy to answer all the questions that you want. And when Andrew and Susan suggested that I do this today, I thought, oh, okay, sure, I can do this. This will be fun. So I went down a rabbit hole. Of course, I'm a professional portrait photographer. I was, for many years. So photography is very important to me, and I do a lot of photography. So I and Mark was. I don't know if you've met many mentalists, but they have this ego. They love having their picture taken, and Mark was absolutely no exception. He just adored that I was always wanting to photograph him. So I've got more photographs than most people have anytime. So we were together 15 years, and he lived a long ways away from me. He lived in Los Angeles, and I live in Salinas, which is up by more closer to, well, I'm in Monterey County, so I'm about a 5-6 hour drive from where he was. And just before the pandemic, that nobody predicted, by the way, he moved in with me here in Salinas. So that was 2019. And he finally retired. He knew he had prostate cancer, but we were managing it. And he and I did a lot of traveling. So Andrew said he wanted me to talk about one seance, I guess. And I mean, I could talk about many seances, but I pulled out some things at the last minute for you guys, and I'm going to show you some of his props and stuff. Am I going to be able to share my screen? Is it set
You
up?
should be able to. It does say that you can.
Okay, good. Then I'll do that.
Yep.
I have a bunch of photos to show you and some props, and of how Mark used to do his seance, and like a 1 minute video that it's just a quick thing. I don't know why I recorded it, but I did just record almost everything. So the things that you guys might be most interested in are a little bit about Mark and a little bit about the props, because I'm sure you probably like that kind of stuff too. But Mark was a very unique kind of person. He was a joy to be around, and he had his expertise was Victorian seance.
Mm.
So he performed at the Magic Castle in the seance room for many years, and I never actually saw him perform at the Magic Castle, though I have seen him perform at the Magic Castle many times, but not in the seance room. So, and you'll have to sit down and have a drink with me. Buy me a drink at the Magisterium if you want to hear the gossip. So we're not recording about that era.
Okay.
Because I remember everything. But anyway, so um, we we started traveling a lot, and I am a speaker of my work is mostly in the psychic world, debunking psychics, putting together stings and that kind of thing. And I have many successful stings and many all wild stings that I've done on psychic mediums. My specialty is mediumship. Those who claim to communicate with the dead. You can't do that, but you guys all know that probably. But mentalism is an art form, and that's completely different. And I absolutely adore it
Mm-hmm.
way more than I do enjoy magic. I know that might sound a little odd, but I think the way seances are put together are just, oh my gosh. I saw Luther do one in Lothar, I'm sorry, do one in South Carolina. I think it's the only time I saw you there. Was it South Carolina? Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I got some amazing photographs of you. And that was a heck of a great seance. Just scary as heck. I mean, you look like a preacher coming in is going to blasphemy everybody. It was great. I've seen some really terrific seances. You guys are just fabulously clever. Mark's was Victorian seance, Houdini, and so on. So let me show you some props. So Mark was really big on anything that looked authentic. In fact, these are probably all very authentic. So of course he's got his rope. So sometimes he would have somebody tie him in, and sometimes he would not have somebody tie him in. He would just hold hands with the different people at the seance table. So it just depended on what if I was there to do the other things that happened. But some of the different slates, he was really great with slates. And there's a few videos up on my YouTube channel if you guys want to see them, or if you have. I've shared a bunch on as now that Mark's died 2 years ago now, almost. I've gone through a lot of the stuff I had, and I'm reissuing it, cleaning it up and putting him out. And he left behind a ton of videos and different things. So I've been putting them out as well. So they're all over my YouTube channel. I'm very public about that kind of stuff. But you can see some of his slate work. But these are actually really legitimately old slates. Mm-hmm. So he had a lot of use of these. He used his slates a lot. So Mark was completely aware of the electronic stuff. Lighten Up. I don't know why it's on there. He liked this set, I think, a lot. This one right here. He used it quite a bit. Nice size. And then I found this one too. I've never seen him use it, but I guess he did, because you can see it right here.
Oh, and then
it has the
flap.
Yeah, it's the number force.
Yeah, the number four.
Yeah, it's a fourth. Yeah, so I've never seen him use that, but he had that. And then here's another
I think it's Al Baker's. That is the Belgium design, that one, I think.
Yeah, so we have quite a selection of those. So anyway, he usually would, when we would go, depending on where we were going to go do a seance, most of the time we didn't do a lot of seances, which is why they stand out in my mind. But when we did, depending on how far he had to travel, he could only take so many things with him. He was very into the absolute detail of things. They had to look authentic or be authentic. He has a book for sale. I've redone all his books. They're all up on his website, themarkedward.com. And they've all been redone with new photographs and, cleaned up and everything. And one of my favorite books he wrote was called Bundles. And that was being able to take old letters, and he'd take letters and pictures, and he had a different effect in each envelope. So he'd carry around the bundle, and I'm sorry, it's in the other room. I didn't think to bring it, but there's a whole bunch of letters, and he'd tie them up with an old ribbon. And then when he just put them in his pocket of his jacket. And so when he'd come out to, do something, he could pull them out, and then he would find an authentic looking letter, because they were authentic. He would go to antique shops, he would go through and he'd find whatever old letters, old photographs he could find. And then he would make a letter that he wanted to use for the seance or whatever effect he was doing. He would fake that and use, dirty up the letter and make it look old, or he would use old paper. And then when he felt like doing, like in the bundle, there would be 10 or 15 effects he could do, just depending. And they're all in this little thing of letters. So that was a really big deal to him to find these old things. And I have a whole bunch of that still sitting around. He was very interested in sounds. So he collected all kinds of bells. And then here's another one. I love this one. Quite a sound. I love this really rich sound. So he collected a lot of old bells that he would use for different seances. The seance I'm going to talk to you about today is one we did in Edinburgh. But this one really reminds me of, we did one for Weird or What, which was a TV show that was done by, well, it was voiced over by William Shatner. And I got to do that one. If you want me to talk about it, if there's time, I can talk about it. But it was a unique seance. And then he loved boxes. Oh my gosh, I got so many boxes. Another thing he was very interested in is smell. So everything had to be authentic. So he had collected a lot of different smells, and he used to use, oh my gosh, essence of antiquity. He would use these different smells for all kinds of effects. And I've got tons of these things.
Yeah.
And he used, I think it was called let me think of the name, Black Phoenix Alchemy Lab. And this is grave dirt. Nice. And it smells like grave dirt. Well, I don't know what grave dirt smells like, but it smells like dirt.
I know that place. They have some wonderful.
Oh my gosh, the stuff he has. And so this was a big deal to Mark. In fact, when we did the skull, no, we did a seance. We did a seance for Sylvia Brown, the psychic, after she died. And I have a video up of that. It's totally punking her. It's just really ridiculous. But he had grave dirt, and he went and he had a friend of his who actually did dig graves, and he had him give him something of dirt. So it wasn't just dirt he picked up anywhere. He had grave dirt. It's probably in a bottle somewhere in my house, but it's not labeled, so I don't know what the heck it is. But he would have taken the box, whatever box he would be using, and he liked it whenever they'd make a sound whenever he'd open it. It'd make some kind of creaky sound, and he'd fill it with a straw or whatever was in there, little pieces of straw, whatever, to make it very authentic. But he would always charge stuff with this, and he thought this was a great idea to add subtly to whatever your seance are doing. It shouldn't be overpowering. It should be just something very, very small.
Yeah.
Oh wow. There's so many I have. And so the one I've been wearing the most is called, Mummies of Mexico or something like that. I just love that smell and it reminds me of Mark a lot. So I have lots of these kinds of boxes with all kinds of little smells in them. And Mark loved little places to put things, little drawers, little boxes, that was a big deal. So let me show you a little bit about the seance, and then I can show you this other box that I have brought back here. But so in 2019, again, before the pandemic, because we didn't know there was going to be a pandemic, we went to on a tour of the UK. So Mark was loved Scotland and England and all that kind of things, in Wales. So I'm a lecturer myself, and I lecture on, as I said, on psychics, and I also lecture on Wikipedia. So I run a Wikipedia editing team that focuses on anything that has to do with the paranormal, science, or anything of the sort. And that's kind of a side, but that's not to be talked about today necessarily, but it's the reason why I get invited to go give talks around the world. So sometimes I'm invited and Mark's not, but he wants to go. So, they would pay for my trip, and then Mark would just go, all right, I'll pay for my way too. And then we would go and do different events. So he knew we were going to go and do these places. We were going to speak to the Edinburgh Skeptics, and he arranged with a friend of his, or somebody he knows, named Ash, ASH. I don't remember who he is necessarily, but I'll show you pictures. He's in them. And they put on a séance in the Banshee Labyrinth. I don't know, has anybody been to Scotland or Edinburgh? It's a really famous place, this place that they do. The Edinburgh Skeptics always, this is like their meeting spot, and I'll show you some photos. So we went all over. We went to Wales, spent a lot of time in Wales. We went to Portsmouth. And what generally happened, depending on which gig I'm speaking at, I mean, I might just talk about Wikipedia, or I might, Mark would do a like a mentalism show, something he would do at the Magic Castle, 19 minutes. And I would hot read. I would do pre-show on the people in the audience. So Mark always sprinkled his hot reads throughout the event. And there's at least 1 or 2 videos I have of him doing that for the New Zealand Skeptics, also in 2019. Cool. So that was always fun. Mark was really into that, and I loved it too. I learned I'm really good on social media. So we went all over, like we're going all over different events, different places. So what I'm going to show you first is a screenshot from the Edinburgh Skeptics. I think, no, this is Edinburgh Horror Festival. It's showing now. And it's Séance in the Vaults with Mark Edward. And so this is something that he put on with this guy, Ash, and they sold tickets for it. But the day before, I believe it was Mark and I doing our normal gig, which was he would do his 19 minutes. And then depending on what it was we were hired to do, he would talk about, or maybe he'd only do like 9 or 10 minutes. And then he would talk about the world of being a psychic entertainer, but his years as a psychic. Now, all the time he was a psychic, you guys, he was also on the board of Skeptic magazine. So he knew damn well what he was doing. He never believed. And he just wanted to believe, and he loved mentalism. So we went to do this, and here's the inside of the little thing. It talks about who he is and all that. And then here we are in, I think this is Edinburgh. Yeah, I think it is. It was cold. It was April. Oh my gosh, it was so cold there. That time of the year. We'd gone to a conference in Portmeirion, Wales, right before this. So I was going through pictures, as I said, preparing for this, and the time we had, it was amazing. So here is the Banshee Labyrinth, and I'll show you a map of what this place looks like. This is old Edinburgh, and it is creepy as heck. They have torture devices along the walls. It's a maze. It's easy to get lost in. But this is the talk. This is probably before the talk for the Edinburgh Skeptics that Mark and I were going to do. So, as I said, if Mark did pre-show, if I did pre-show for him, and then he used the information that I used in the pre-show, what I found on the people, he didn't talk to people's dead members. He would just, like, he'd pull somebody up on stage, and we did this a lot at the Magic Castle. He would pick somebody out of the audience, and it looked random. And as they came up on stage, he would make some crack about them being a Pisces or something like that. And, like as he touched their hand and helped them up on the stage, and people would go, it was subtle. And that was Mark. He was very subtle. And people go, how did he know she was a Pisces? And she'd already looked startled. She has completely forgotten that an hour or two, I was sitting in the waiting room with her, and I asked her, and we talked about her birthday, and I pretended it was my birthday, and then found out, she's a Pisces, or she was born on a Monday. Like, they'll say something like, I would say, oh, what brings you here? And they'll say, oh, I'm here for my birthday. Oh, it's your birthday? Is it today? And they go, oh, it was yesterday. And you're like, oh, that's really awesome. And, they might slip out as their 50th birthday or whatever. And so I would just Google it, and I go, okay, well, 50 years ago on yesterday was a Monday. So then Mark would pull them out of the audience and say they were born on a Monday or whatever it was. We did all kinds of stuff like that. But then when we were outside, when we did skeptic events, or we're doing these for the public, then I would get up on stage after he was all done. And then I would talk about the work I do with the psychic world. As you see, there's Reynolds wrap sitting here. Right now, I have my last sting I did. second to last sting I did. And Susan too, Susan Williams, Andrew's better half there. She helped me out on this. And it was a sting I did called Operation Banana Cream Pie. And the psychic that we called out was using hot reading to a grief group of people who are actually in grief. I mean, this isn't magic or anything. This is somebody who's preying on these people. And one of the tells she uses that I could tell she was hot reading is she was mentioning Reynolds wrap. So I like to keep this here. That's why it's here, because when I make videos, I like to troll her because I know she's watching my videos and she's kind of scared right now. So I will say, "Hey, Suzanne," that's her name, Suzanne, Reynolds wrap. Remember that? That's why it's there, because it just makes my day.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, you guys couldn't even see it, I don't think. Could you see it? Okay. Well, anyway, so let's see what else is up here on the screen. So here's the seance, and it was always a problem when we did seances, getting it right. You want to Mark liked to black out seance, totally black, you know. He liked those kinds of seances best because then, of course, more things can happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
So getting the venue where it was as dark as you could get it was always a problem. But here he is at the table with a bunch of people at the Edinburgh Skeptics event, and he's doing his little thing. He's brought some stuff with him. Here's some slate, and here's some slate. Here's one of his bells. Here's a bundle right there, and this might be holy water. I don't know. And then his magician's robe. And we would change it up all the time. Mark didn't do, I mean, he had a lot of things he did often, but that was one of the geniuses of him. And I think he was an amazing mentalist because he would just go with it. I mean, whatever the issue was, he would just find a way of getting around it. He knew a lot about electronic devices and all those little things that, you know, people have now, but Mark didn't use them because he rarely used electronic devices of any kind. He usually relied on just the old same mentalism effects that were just as effective. He didn't want to rely on electronics so much. And here I am just showing that after Mark does his thing, I go up and I do a talk on whatever it is I was doing. And I can't even remember. It's been so long. Okay, so here's a 1-minute clip. And I put the captions on here just a few minutes ago because I wanted you guys to be able to see it because I didn't know how well you'd be able to hear it. But this is just him introducing the seance he's going to do, and it's kind of, it explains a little bit. So it's 1 minute and 13 seconds long. So I put the caption so you could hear it. Yes. Yeah, of course. Okay, so that's just giving you a feel of what it would be like. He would do a lot of research on whatever location we're doing, and then he just made shit up. So he would basically read the Wikipedia article and get a little information, throw in some names, and you know, and just suspend your judgment. But we did a seance for another group in 2014 or something like that in Scotland, also in Edinburgh. And he had to have rose petals. Oh my gosh, he had to have rose petals. We went all over Scotland. Oh my gosh, looking for these stupid roses petals. And it had to be rose petals. And so it had to be authentic. And the accent was so thick that this is, I think, 2014 when we didn't have the GPS on our phones like we did. And people, he would talk to somebody who he'd go up to somebody and say, is there a florist around here? And then he'd say, and they'd start talking and gesturing. And Mark's like, okay. And then he'd walk back to me and he goes, I have no idea what he said. Let's go find somebody else. And we'd go from person to person to try to find a florist. But Scotland is not known for its roses. But we're here in California, and it just seemed odd for us not to have roses. So he didn't bring petals. He knew he was going to find the petals over there. And that was interesting. So then after this lecture that I'm talking about that I just showed you, we went to go meet up with this man. And I don't know if anybody recognizes this person in the orange. Does anybody know who that is? This guy right here. That's Richard Wiseman. So Richard Wiseman is a friend of ours, and he lives in Edinburgh. And you might know him from some of the other work he did. We went from here, we went to his house, and he's written a lot of books. He's on magic, the luck factor, quirkology, paranormality. He's a psychologist who's also a magician. And you might know him from this book too, David Copperfield's History of Magic. That's a really huge book that came out recently. So he's a very prolific magician and psychologist. He's just fabulous. In fact, he's going to be in, I'm going to be in Buffalo, New York in 3 weeks or so for SciCon, which is the 50th anniversary of the Skeptic community in, I don't say magazine. Oh, here's a magazine. It's the big conference over there, and Bill Nye will be there, and Richard Weissman will be there. Mark and I are both fellows of that organization. It's kind of a big deal. So it's the 50th anniversary of the magazine and 50th anniversary of the organization. So they're having it in Buffalo this year. School Inquirer. Okay. I write for that magazine. So let's go back to the seance. So here's the next day. I think this is the next day I'm going to show you. Now, this is where it starts to get a little more fun, for me at least, because the other ones I was just taking photographs. Here's I think this is the guy Ash. I think it is. And people are starting to show up. And here's some of the things that Mark brought. This very old candle. I still have this candle holder. Oh, and that's the same bell that I was just showing you guys. That's the same one. And a deck of cards all tied up with a ribbon. And then the fabric that Mark would use. And here's some more of the props. And you guys will probably recognize a lot of these effects. I don't necessarily know what they are, but during the seance, different things would happen. And one, he would use a clock and a watch. And I think it's two-sided, and I don't know. I've seen him do it a bunch of times, but I think it's like, you set the clock and okay, you guys know that. And of course he would do the slates. And there's the bell, and then the candle, and here's bundles right over here. And then, yeah, so this must be the same event. This must be the same event that I was talking about, the Edinburgh Skeptics. And Tracy King, 150. I don't know. It must have been the end of some kind of effect he was doing. All right. And then here he is setting up the cards for... Oh, he was signing them. They had cards that they were using to sell the tickets for. And just more of the effect. He loved border collies. So this is a little tin that he had with border collies on it. And he would use border collies in his effects. This is a piece of Ouija board that's just all been burned all over it. I still have that somewhere. And yeah, so these are pictures I took. So this must be from the first day. And he's reading out a letter that he's found. Well, he didn't find it. It's from Houdini, apparently. He gimmicked it of some sort, because he's probably doing the Houdini seance right here. One of the, getting in touch with Bess and so on. And yeah. So I think he's tied up in this one. I can't quite remember. And of course, he's able to get out of it quite simply. Oh yeah, I think this is the guy Ash, I think. I don't know if you guys know who he is, but He's talking to him after the event. Okay, here's the Banshee Labyrinth, and it is really creepy. It's not like here in the United States at all. You have bars all over the place, and then you go down these old stone steps. I mean, it's torturous. And then, as I said, they have just little rooms all over the place where you can go and see other stuff. I know you guys all love this. Oh, here's one of those. Oops, I'm sorry. Here's one of those. You put your head in and
Yeah, that's docs.
stocks, yeah. And then there was other kinds of devices that were torture
It's
devices.
sometimes called pillars.
Oh,
Yeah.
pillars.
Yeah.
So this is a fun place, and like I said, I think we performed here 3 or 4 times over a couple of years that we were in Edinburgh, because this is the place that the Edinburgh skeptics usually used for their place that they had an inn on. That this is where they would usually have all their lectures and stuff there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this photo was taken by Ash, and this is the Sunday. This is the last day we were there, where the people were sold tickets. And so this was a different kind of event. And I want to explain this a little more in depth because it was a lot of fun for me. This is me over here in the far right corner, and I'm over there for a reason, and I'm wearing all black for a reason. So I had to pretend. Mark and I made this decision ahead of time that I was going to go and he was going to hold hands with the people at the table, I believe. And so he wasn't going to do any of the tricks where you could do where you're holding hands with somebody and then next thing you know they're holding hands with each other and he's already got his hands free. He had all kinds of ways of getting out of it, but he decided he was just going to stay. I believe he stayed holding hands, and I was going to be the person who was making everything happen, because it was able to make the room completely black, and we didn't know that going in, I think. So let me see what the next photo is. Yeah, no, I guess they did tie him up. I guess they did. Maybe he did some of the stuff and I did some of the stuff. So here's somebody's tying him up. These are different things he's talking about here. So I think that's the last of those photos. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just tell you what happened and how much fun it was. So we'd gone to dinner right before the séance, and I had it's the stupidest story. I said, "Are you going to eat that? Are you going to finish that roll?" And he's like, "No, I'll finish it later." I'm like, "Here, let me take it." So I took the roll and I put it in my bag, in like a little bag. So I had this dinner roll, little bread roll, and I had it in my bag. I don't know what I was thinking, but I took it with me. So what happened is I'm wearing all black, and they put me in the room in the far corner, and it was set up that way, and I just completely stayed in character as if I was one of the attendees. I didn't talk to anybody. I didn't do anything. And this is what I had, part of my role. And I sat there just completely trying to be as invisible as possible. And I had already practiced walking up on the stage. It's like 2 steps. So I had to see 1, 2, because it's going to be pitch black. There's no way I'm going to be able to see what's going on. So I had to, go up and down. I had to make sure I could hear if there was any sounds that would make from the steps I was taking up there. And before we got there, I believe we had gone into Scotland and we got a tube of wrapping paper, and at some convenience store somewhere. And because we wanted the tube, just the tube. So the cardboard tube is what we wanted. And I was going to use that as one of my props. And then there were some other things that he had done. I can't quite remember at the moment. But what happened is he tells the story, completely fictional, made up of some person who's supposedly died in the area and some paranormal ghosty stuff that's going on. And this is a room of people who could be a mix of believers or not. We don't know, because they're paid. They paid to come. So this wasn't part of the skeptic community. So you never know what you're going to get in that kind of era. But I believe Mark chose all the people who are going to be on stage, who look like they would go along with whatever in case we messed it up. Because as I said, we're just winging this at this point. It was just and that's kind of like I said, Mark was really good at that. He just would, all right, let's try this. And I'm like, okay, let's do it. If you say so. I learned early on at the Weird or What seance we did is that when you have a device that sprays scent in the air, you can hear that. So you have to be really careful that you spray the smell that you're using when Mark was speaking, because otherwise you could hear, because it gets really silent in those completely blacked out areas and you can't see anything, you can't hear anything. So anyway, Mark would have a part of the seance where usually involved rose petals, as I said. And what I would do is I would pull out of my back pocket some spray and do a good shot in the air with some rose smell. And he never mentioned it. He didn't say anything. He always thought it was better to just let it happen. And if somebody smelled it, then they smelled it, so he never pointed these things out. So then usually somebody might say something like, I smell roses, or whatever. And they might even do it afterwards. And it might only one or two people would, and somebody else might go, oh, I think I smelled roses too. That's weird. So that's kind of how Mark would do it. He never drew attention to anything like that. He would do it. It was all very subtle. So then I'm up on stage. I managed to get behind him, which is where I usually do. When we did the skull seance in the Weird or What TV show, we had little glow in the dark bugs, because we couldn't find anything that was like sophisticated. We stopped at a store and we found these bugs that were like little bugs for a kid, and we put them on the back of Mark's chair and in other subtle places that I would be able to see. And then you have to, when the seance is not running, of course you have to stand there with a light and charge the glow in the dark things. So I was able to I don't remember how he did it on this. It's 2019. That's been a long time. So I got up on stage and I would usually lean onto Mark's chair, and then I could put my hands over the top of him and I could make things happen. I could grab the bell or whatever, because it was always placed in a certain place where I could find whatever it was. And then I made things happen. And one of the things I did, everybody had their hands, people were holding hands on the I remember now. They're all holding hands. I don't know what I was thinking, but I took that dinner roll and I dropped it on the table. Mark didn't know I was doing that. I don't even remember why I did that, but I can't see what's going on. I guess I didn't want to harm anybody by throwing something really like heavy, like a heavy bell or something.
Yeah.
So I threw the dinner roll on the table. And so when it was all over, and Mark comes out of the trance, when he comes out of his trance, almost always he's like out of it. He's like laying there all over the table, and somebody will have to look at him, like shake him and wake him up or something. He loved doing that kind of stuff. But I think in this case, he was tied up. I think he just started speaking and he said, okay, don't make sure you don't break the psychic circle. Don't, let go of each other's hands. And then he told somebody off stage to turn on lights or turn on the candle, light the candle or something like that. And when the lights went on, there is two people, they're sitting next to each other and they're holding hands, and there's this dinner roll right at the top.
Nice.
And Mark's like, what happened? Materialize a dinner roll. It's like, laughing, because I'm already back sitting down, in my little corner again, completely pretending like I'm like was amazed as everybody else. And Mark just completely forgot about the dinner roll. I don't remember if he had said we could make it materialize, or I don't even remember, but I know that he was shocked by the time when the lights went on and these people were freaking out because they didn't know, and it was just right between their hands. So like they're holding hands, but it's right on the top of the two hands. I don't know how I did that, but it was just the luck of, the seance gods were with me that night. So that was fun. And so we pulled that all off. And
so what did you do with the cardboard tube?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I mentioned that, didn't I?
Yeah.
So the cardboard tube, we used again at the seance in the school seance, and you have to practice this because it's total blackness. You cannot see anything. So I would take the tube, it would be hidden in the folds of the curtains or something, on the stage. And I had to know exactly where it was. So I'd go over and I'd take that out, and you take the tube and you can't just like whip it around, because you're going to hit somebody upside the head. So you take it and you lift it up way up in the air, and then you pull it really close to your mouth. I mean, really close to your mouth. And then you could put it, I knew where Mark was. So I could just center the it's about yay long, meter long or something like that.
Yeah.
And you have to get it so it's over the middle of the table. And of course I was able to practice that before the event, before everybody showed up. And you can get the thing right in the middle of the table. And then when you have it right on your mouth, you can make sounds come out. It sounds like the sound are coming from the middle of the table. Oh, it's so much fun. Mm-hmm. And then I had to speak with a Scottish accent, which obviously I don't have. So I would say, like, mummy, whatever. And I would say whatever. And it just sounds, it really does. It makes it sound just like the voice is coming from the middle of the table. And people are like, freaking out a little bit because how did that happen, right? Mm-hmm. And it's just me in a cardboard tube. So we didn't need anything fancy. It was like the trumpets they used to use from the Victorian seances, obviously, but this is just something very simple. And then when I'm done with that item, then I take it and I shove it back under the curtain, and then I'm done. I'm clean. My hands are clean. Mark's clean. There's no electronic devices at all on the table. Mm-hmm. And as I said, electronic devices can go wrong, but with stuff like this, you can get it. Oh, and I was also able to tap people on the shoulder. I couldn't see the people, but you can guess. Like you can see, here's Mark's chair. I'm leaning on Mark's chair. Yeah. So I know that there's chairs right here. And then you can kind of move your hand over there. You can see, and then you're like touching their hair very slightly, or you touch their shoulder and you kind of just lean around and you touch somebody else, but you got to be really careful. And then from the stage, I'm, looking at the people's heights and making sure like who I should avoid, who I shouldn't. But in this case, I couldn't get under the table, which was what I did in the, I loved the under the table stuff where you get underneath and you shake the table. Yeah, Mark, if he can get his foot free easily, he would do a big jump at the table with his foot and make it jump. Oh God, that was so much fun. But let me show you this kit. Okay. This is one of his kits that he used to use. Of course, this is too heavy to take with him to someplace like Scotland because it's just too big and heavy. But some of the things he would use is, of course, and it's got to be an old box. Mm-hmm. We had an old-fashioned tambourine. This is seriously an old tambourine, all bent up and beat up. And then what else is in here? And then here's a little box that had a lock of hair, all tied with ribbon, nice. An old ribbon. So I don't know whose hair it is, but it usually was Bess Houdini's. Here's more slates. And here's more magician's rope. So he liked to keep everything, in one spot. I guess in case there's an emergency, he had to run out of the house and do a seance. Old mirror. He's got 31 on here, but this is just a piece of plastic that's on top of the. Yeah. It's on there, that just appears. Here's a deck of cards, probably tarot card. No, these are cards, regular playing cards. And then there's an old letter on the back. I don't remember what it says. Here's an old letter. He would get them from wherever, like antique stores. This one's from Bombay. So he didn't fake this letter. He just bought it at an antique shop. And it's got India, Bombay, somebody's writing. It's a first day cover. And then he would just make whatever letter he wanted to go in there. But he found that most people didn't really care. He would make the letter look really authentic, and he would read it to the people, but most people were just there for the experience. It he did all this kind of work just for him, right? So here's an
Interesting.
old box, these kind of old boxes they used to sell a lot of stuff in, and this has got an old photograph you probably picked up at some jewelry antique fair. One of the things Mark would do, and it drove me nuts, is he would use his own family's photos. And he would take these old photos, I mean, 100, 150 years old, and he'd cut out the damn picture. And so there'd be a picture of, he'd have the picture, and then there's the head, the face is missing out of the picture because he's put it in a locket. I'm like, so I've scanned every photo he's ever had. I know his family genealogy. The envelope was from Bombay. It's a birthday cover, Calcutta High Court, Bombay, and it has a postage stamp on it. I have no idea what he used it for. It's just that he would collect these, and he would make a story. He would probably put the letter would probably be something that was like somebody who was in the military. 1962. Somebody who was, okay. I don't know, it doesn't matter. It just whatever. Oh, and so what was they saying about and so when I did his family genealogy, and even recently when I'm going back and looking through all the magic effects, I had to go and put those pictures back together, put the face back in the like, why did you do that? Just, to me, photos are something. Oh, here's an old book, What You Should Know About Telepathy. I have no idea why he would use that, but he just collected these things. I've got at least 1,000 books. Almost all of them are ghost stories and mediumship and haunted something or other, but mostly old stuff. So in here, what are we looking at? This is this has something to do with Bombay again. So here's a letter, an envelope that he picked up somewhere from Bombay. On the back, it has the old writing, done with a, not with a fountain pen, but like an actual pen that they used to use. And then inside, like I said, I've not looked at some of this stuff, or if I have, it has been years. Really old looking letter, Houdini letter.
Wow.
And it's ripped and it's in bad shape. And I think let me see what this is. Oh, this is supposed to be a letter to somebody that from Al Smith, who was Houdini's manager. So I think this is one that he said Houdini wanted you to know that the cards, I guess that's these, once belonged to Lady Doyle, wife of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, who was reported to be a trance medium. She told Houdini herself that they are haunted, and as such, bunk, he wants nothing to do with them. Perhaps you can find a use for them. So the letter looks very authentic, but I'm sure he gimmicked it somehow. But that's what this letter is. And so then the seance would be about, probably about the cards and how Lady Doyle's cards were haunted and something would happen. Something. Here's a note he has in here. It's the Houdini seance, his I guess his playlist in 2000. This is before I met Mark. I met him in 2009. This has got, he would start off with a seance waiver form tied in black ribbon, just in case something bad happened. He didn't want people to feel haunted. They had to sign off a disclaimer. It was just fun. And then key are wrecked. 7 envelopes, 7 keys, and a padlock, I guess, was in here.
Yeah.
Ashes and wood. And then he'd have a rose, a prepared envelope, and his nail writer. And then he would use a Svengali deck, haunted pack of cards, a cameo photograph. And then during the dark seance, he would do the Geneva watch. I guess you know what that is. Slates and chalk, tambourine, ropes, and a spirit bell, and rose petals. So that was his playlist. What else is in here? Here's an old book on London mystery. I don't know what this is about. I don't know if it's ghost stories. It's a quarterly anthology of the best original works of mystery, fact, or fiction. So this is something he picked up. It's the date on it says 1959. I don't know why it's in the box. And look, here's an old photograph of Houdini and Bess. Can you see that? They're gonna glare. This is an old photograph. I don't know where he got this from, but he would have used this somehow for some kind of thing. He was always collecting for someday. This is filthy in here. An old, I don't know. You guys probably know what that is better than I do. Putting on a shoe, or I don't know.
No idea.
I don't know. And again, he could have just had him out on the table to look authentic. Here inside this little bag.
Oh, maybe a lockpick.
Oh, could be.
Yeah.
Here's a pocket watch, and we open it. It's got date and a time, and I assume that it's got a back that opens too. Or maybe it doesn't. I don't know if this is that's part of the thing. I can't throw hardly anything away. I don't know if it's a regular deck of cards or if it's a gimmick deck of cards. I don't usually know. I've got blocks of wood. I'm not sure if they're gimmicked or not. I'm like, well, I can't throw that away. It might have oil in it. I don't know what's in that. And then what else is in it? Oh, here's a little tiny deck of cards. A little deck. It's not a cards. It says, why did Houdini choose not to escape? Choose to die when you did. And why did you, Houdini, choose not to escape and choose to die when you did? It's written in there with kind of that old handwriting. So I wonder if these are all different. How did Houdini die? Oh, this is my handwriting, so I must have done some of this. I think these are must be like questions people ask, and then lastly, this is the last thing in here. I don't know what this is. Oh, the lock
Correct.
and keys.
Yeah.
So I'm sure this is one of the effects that you guys would know that I wouldn't. And there's a whole bunch of envelopes, the little things. So I think you put a different key in each envelope, and then something happens. It's exciting. This is the nice thing about me is I don't have to know all this stuff, and I still enjoy it so much. But this is the little kit that I pulled up just before I came on to talk to you guys. It's all just as different things he would have, and I've got all kinds of stuff all around the house that is enjoyable to look at, and I have not made a decision what I'm going to do with any of this yet, and I might not make that decision for a very long time. So that's the joy of it. But oops, I better put the phone. Okay, so that's all I have, unless you have questions for me.
That's an amazing looking box. Everything in
It is. It
Everything
doesn't make sound when it opens. Usually, and it didn't smell, but he would really usually charge it before we started whatever we were going to do.
So of his props, it has. You mentioned he uses the slates, and how many of those things were actually gimmicked magic trick gimmicks?
This is the first one I've ever seen that had a gimmick on it. Almost always he used just sleight of hand. Just the turning it over and then turning it, wiping it with your thumb, then turning it again. Yeah. I think that's mostly what he ever did. I've never seen him use the gimmicked ones. That's new to me. Yeah. I found him when I was looking for the other slates. I didn't even know he had those.
So I actually have a question for you, actually. It was just observation, of course. When the lights go out, you are aware of the current surroundings, where you have to go upstairs, you have to walk around the table, get the tube, and then do the tube thing, put it back. But then on your way out, that had to be terrifying for you.
No.
No? Going downstairs?
Because I just shove it back under the curtain wherever I was.
I mean, going back down the stairs and then finding your seat, That's...
Oh, no, I it's only like I stood up, did 2 stairs, I'm at wherever I need to be, turn around, down 2 stairs, back. There might have been, like I said, something glowy somewhere. You just practice it. You don't even have to do it a bunch of times. And if I'd fallen on my face, then so what? I wouldn't have cared. I'm pulling up these other pictures. Maybe I'll show you this because it looks like we might have some time. Do you guys want me to talk about the
I
school
mean,
thing?
this little program goes on until for another hour, so we got plenty
Okay,
to
well,
talk
ask me
about.
questions while I pull this up, and maybe I'll explain this to you because it's kind of the same idea.
Okay.
Did he always uh, do a seance for 18, 19 minutes?
For what?
For the duration of 18, 19 minutes? You mentioned that
Oh,
time period earlier.
that was Magic Castle. You had to be done in 19 minutes.
Okay.
So the seances would go, I never really timed them. They were done when they were done. So 20-ish minutes is about right.
Okay. Wow.
I'm trying to remember how to spell this darn thing. Oh, I think it's called Weird or What. EIRD. I don't know if you guys have heard of Weird or What,
Hmm.
but it was a TV show that was on. Okay, I can show you these. Okay, do you have any other questions about the Edinburgh one? And then I'll just pull up these pictures real quick.
Anybody have any questions? Put your microphone on. Now's the chance. Otherwise, no, go right into it.
I didn't have a
Oh.
question, but I did have a comment. As a person who's also a stamp collector, take care of those 2 first day covers that you have because they could be worth quite a bit.
Oh yeah, I also have a
Yeah.
stamp collection that I've had since I was a little girl, but I'm
Yeah.
trying not to look at those things in that way because
Yeah.
only because it's one thing when Mark would just tear up his parents, his great grandparents' photos. I'm like,
Yeah.
what the heck? But I'm just I could put him back together, scan him, and then I put him back into the kit. So I'm trying to keep everything kind of the way he had it. So
Yeah.
who knows? I mean, that might have actually been something important. I don't
Yeah.
know. Okay, so let me show
Mhm.
you this. This is I didn't prepare these in advance. I mean, I obviously have the pictures here, but
Mhm.
I'll have to go through them a little bit quick. So to set this up, there was a TV show called Weird or What, and this was from 2011. So Mark did 2 different ones. One he did with spoon bending, and I don't even know if he got credited on that one or not. He was kind of a last minute person because he could spoon bend, obviously,
Mhm.
and because he was a magician also. But this one was the skull experiments, which was a seance that was done back in England in Scole, I guess, Scole. Somebody might remember this better than I would. And it's supposed to be the best evidence for a seance. So Weird or What was going to do a story on it, and you can find this on YouTube. And what they did is they hired Mark to do a seance, and for the TV for the show. And they also hired a really good friend of mine whose name is Brian Dunning, who has a podcast called Skeptoid. So this is really, again, where it becomes partly a blur between my world, which was the world of scientific skepticism, and then the world of Marx, which was the world of seance and so on. So let me show you some photos. We arrive at this warehouse, and actually, I'm wearing the same shirt now that I think about it.
Mhm.
I don't know why. So we arrive at this huge warehouse. Let me share some photos. And I guess this is the one I'm going to share. It is, Mark wants a dark seance. And so they gave us, we're sitting in, I mean, this is huge. This is just one little area. And I was walking around taking pictures. You can see they do all kinds of different sets all over. So they had this one area that has all these curtains around the outside. I'm sorry, I can't blow this up too much bigger, I don't think. Oh yeah, I could zoom in a little bit. So here's this big curtains that are right here. And Mark insists that the room has to be completely dark. So the people who are working with us, the stagehands, they had to get on top of the warehouse and they had to block out all sources of light. So before we could do this, you can see here's different sets they would use this for some warehouse in LA. Here's a Jeep for whatever reason. And so Mark had insisted on these chairs. There's a very large chair here and these other ones. So this is the film crew. And they pulled in people from, there was going to be 2 seances, and they pulled in people from I guess they got them from Craigslist. And Mark was just kind of telling him what he wanted to do. And here's the box Mark brought, typically like the one I have behind me, but something, it was different. You know, he'd change them out all the time. And it was going to be 3 people and Mark. And so here they're filming his props. Now these things are filmed and filmed and filmed and filmed. And then the show is like 3 minutes. So we could be there. We were there from probably 11 in the morning till, or 10 in the morning till like 4 or 5 in the afternoon. And so I didn't know what was going on, but here's his tambourine and stuff like that. You can see them filming him. And he came up with a story that he was going to tell him about some guy who had he was a musician who was an old sea captain, and he was, I think he was murdering people or something. I'm not quite sure. So these are some of the photographs I took. You can see here's the old photographs and the creepy box and the old candle. And this is a mask I'm wearing because I knew I was going to be the person who was doing stuff off camera. So just some of the photos. There I am, back when I had dark hair. And let's see what else. Yeah, I am wearing the same shirt. So here's what we did is the back of his chair was like a flat chair, like very flat. And so we knew that it was going to be completely dark in there. Once he turned out, because he had a candle, and then once he blew out the candle, there was nothing to see. We also knew he was going to have film crew, and they were shooting with infrared, you know, so it was night vision kind of stuff. So they had little glowy stuff on their, you could see little lights on their cameras, but that was about it. And it was just barely any light at all. So I had to practice with the camera people to walk in a clockwise direction, or Wittershins go the opposite way. I can't remember, because I didn't want to run into the camera people and they didn't want to run into me. And I was going to be coming from off stage, and I'll show you where and what I was going to do. There I am. There's my kit. I practiced with this stupid thing. I thought I was going to die. I'm in black, complete black, and I'm wearing, I'm just socks. That was overkill. I took my mask off after a while, I think, and I didn't need it at all. So here's what he was using. He had the bell.
You look like a ninja.
A what?
You look like a ninja.
A ninja?
Ninja.
Yeah.
Oh, ninja. And then this French horn. And I have this French horn outside. So Mark was living in LA, so he just brought stuff from home. And here's this tambourine. He just brought whatever. And he just brought it into the story he was telling. Oh, here's Brian Dunning, and there's Mark. And Brian was going to be, so what they were going to do is they were going to record Mark's seance twice. They interviewed all the people who were participating, and then after the seance they interviewed him again, and then they were going to show the footage to Brian Dunning, and Brian Dunning was going to be the person who explains it for the TV audience. He would say, oh, here's some of the things, here's what's going on, here I am. And whatever, I think I'm signing a disclaimer or something, you know, because I was going to be on camera. Okay, these are just all the photos. I'm going to go through them really quick because I didn't have these set aside for you. Here's where Brian's sitting afterwards. He's going to watch the seance stuff. Let me see if I can find what I want to show you really quick. Yeah, so let me show you this one photo, and then I'll tell the story. What happens, how this works. Okay, so I'm going to need to be entering from a certain place. Mark wanted to do pre-show, and I didn't want to do pre-show because I thought it was just overkill. Okay, here's the photo that probably will make more sense. I had a moment there. I forgot what I was trying to do. Okay. This photo right here probably explains most. So right inside here, you can see how these curtains are really draped, really wild down in here. It's really rough, and there's a lot. So what I did is I had the tambourine, the French horn, a large cardboard tube, and I had them underneath the curtain right here. And then right here, there's a gap where I can be on the other side. So when the people walk in, you can't see me. I'm just they're coming to sit down. They don't know what's going to happen. They're really completely clueless. So I can be in that gap between where the folds are.
Yeah.
No, it must be over here. It must be on this side. No. Anyway, let's just go with the story and say it's right here. Because as I said, once he blows out the candle, there's no light. So Mark's chair, because it's flat on the back, he's got glow in the dark little bugs that are stuck to the back of the chair. And I practiced walking from there to his chair, how many steps that would take, how many steps would it take me to get to where I had the French horn, the tambourine, and the French horn hidden under, and the cardboard tube hidden behind underneath everything. So I just had to keep practicing. And I think there might have been a glow in the dark under each chair or something where they couldn't see it. But as I said, we had to keep it charged. So the seance, there was 2 seances. And what we did in each case, they came in and they interviewed the people and asked them what their thoughts were on seance and, speaking to the dead. And then Mark came in, sat down at the table, and then he told them a story about this man who was a sea captain, and he was very much into music. And there was a little girl, and there was right where that warehouse was, there was this empty field. And this little girl, she came running through the field, and one day she just disappeared into the field and nobody could find her body. Yeah, it's a story. We don't know. He's just making all this up, right? But he's trying to keep it so it sounds like it's local. And what he did was he tells a story. He has everybody, he has the candle. And I believe he's holding hands with everybody around the table. I think that's how we did it. Everybody's holding hands because I'm going to be doing everything else. And it's just 3 people and him. So he really downplayed who he was. He was just some medium, somebody. Mm-hmm. And then I think this is the first seance I did with him. And I thought, this is the hokiest thing I've ever seen in my life. This is so stupid. Nobody's going to believe this. So when he blows out the candle and it goes black, people are just right there and they're just sitting there. I can't see them, but they're just, when we watch the footage later, and you can see this on Weird or What, there's a segment up. You can see them in the infrared. They're just frozen, like what's going to happen. And I'm off camera going, all right, how long until I walk in? And he gave me this little battery powered filaments, it's very fine filaments. At the very end of it, it has little lights on it.
Fiber optics?
Fiber optics, yeah. And it's a whisk. It's about that long, and it's just, you shake it and the lights just go. And Mark says, take this and put it in your pocket. And when you get out here, take that and you're going to turn it on, turn it off, and you're going to be shaking it like this. I'm like, oh God, nobody's going to believe this. This is so stupid. But I did it, and I'm shaking it around, and the people are trying to get their eyes adjusted to the darkness. And you could just see these things of light that are just there, and then they're gone. Oh my gosh, they loved it. I mean, they were scared. They were really scared. And I didn't know what was going on. And then that's also when it gets to the part about roses. Again, I sprayed the rose spray, and I thought, I got to make sure I time it whenever he's speaking and not at a quiet part. I used the tube and I pulled it over and put it over the table. Oh, so what I did is I came out, and as I said, Mark's chair has multiple glow in the dark bugs on it. So I leaned right over the top of them, and I'm able to put my hands over his shoulders, and I know I won't be touching anybody because he's got his hands down like this. So I have my hands over his shoulders, and I can make things happen. Like I can move things around on the table. I take the tambourine. In fact, I think the tambourine was on the table, and I reach over, I grab the tambourine, and I pick it up and I shake it like that. And then I take it and I throw it across the room. And we had practices with the camera people because I don't want to hit one of them. So we had it figured out so that they would not be in the way when I did it. like I said, I had to walk in a certain way and they had to walk in a certain way. We didn't want to get into each other's way. So I threw it. So these people just hear this thing go flying across the room, making all this noise. It hits the other curtain on the other side and it just rolls down. It was really a great effect. I used the cardboard tube to say all kinds of stuff. I don't even remember. Usually, mommy, mommy, where are you, mommy, kind of stuff. And then I didn't have a dinner roll. This is before the dinner roll. This is 2011. Mm-hmm. So what I did is when Mark, oh, God, he's such a kick. One of the things he would do in one of the seances, he was telling them he was levitating. So what he's doing is he's got his hands, he's holding their hands, and he starts like going like this, you know, rocking them back and forth. It's like, I'm floating. And all he's doing is pulling his hands up like this. He's holding their hands and he's pulling his hands up like this. He's like, I'm pulling. And you can hear him screaming and stuff, and trying to pull him down. And then he just hands up and he's holding their hands still. And they're just like trying to pull him back down because they can't tell. They just think he's levitating. He said he told a story about somebody he knew that would stand on the chair and get way up there. So the people's arms are way up there trying to pull him back down. Anyway, so like I said, Mark was making this up. These are things he knew, but he's just making this up on the fly. It was fun. And he was just kind of the type of person that just, let's make this as wild as possible. What can I get away with is what he would say. What can I get away with? And nothing was seriously planned. I mean, he knew he was going to do this. He knew he was going to do that. And because we had to watch out for the camera people. But then I got down and I was touching people and their hair, but I couldn't see them, but I could sort of see them. You know, you could sort of tell that must be where the shape is. Because I think I can feel the chair. So I think I could touch that. And they were like freaking out, you know, when they got touched. And I just do it very slightly, especially the hair. That really gets them. And then I got down where Mark's feet were. And I knew that's where his feet were. And I think we were planned to do this. Yeah, we did. And I got down there and it's a heavy table. I didn't realize how heavy it was, but I got way down there and I got low on the ground. I mean, I'm on my belly, I think. And I reached to the centermost part of the table. Let me show you the picture again so you can look at this. I got down by Mark's feet and I just grabbed whatever leg was there, being careful that I don't touch anybody else. Mm-hmm. But I got down there and I shook that thing really good as I could shake it. But I think I'm pretty much on my belly because I didn't want anybody to touch me. And even though they're not supposed to break the psychic chain, right?
Right.
So I just shook it really good. And again, I thought, this is just so silly. Why are people believing this? It's just obviously it's just somebody under the table and walking around. To me, it was like, duh. And to them, they were freaked out. I mean, absolutely. Let me see if I have the photos of that really quick. Because I took some screenshots from when the show came up. I was able to take screenshots off of the show. And you can see the people are terrified in some of these photos. And then when he came back up, when the seance is over, what Mark is doing is I think he was laying there on the table, absolutely out, still kind of holding their hands. And he had talked to the camera people how to handle this part. And the part was he told them, do nothing, say nothing, just stay quiet. So as the lights started coming on, there's Mark just laying there and the camera crew just walked away. So it was Mark laying there completely passed out, 3 people just looking at each other. They're strangers to each other. They don't know each other. And Mark is just like there. And so he waited. He was trying to see how long it would take before one of them would tap him or try to move him. I don't know. It was like a count of 30 seconds. And that's a long time. And I'm off, behind the curtains again. I can't really see what's going on. But they finally somebody would see if he's okay. And then he'd come out of it really groggy. what happened, kind of thing.
Mhm.
And the people were freaked. And what would happen is that I'm trying to pull up these pictures really quick. He on my other camera, on my other screen. So he didn't know, and then he slowly got up and he kind of shook his head like, wow. And then he got up and walked off. He went out. And
Goodbye.
still these people are sitting there going, well, what the heck just happened? And that was the whole beauty of it. The whole effect of it was they didn't know. And they just were sitting there going, well, what just happened? And we're like, well, and so several things that were really interesting that happened that were great was that things happened that we had no control over. One of the things was the candle in all of the things that were going on, the wax was still really hot. And when I'm jostling things around on the table, the candle fell and wax stripped. And so when the lights come on, these people are looking, one of the women looked at the candle and saw the wax and said, there's a face in that wax. We had nothing to do with it, but they thought they saw a face in the wax. I mean, that was beautiful. Mark was like, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So they were freaked out about that. And then it's an old warehouse. And apparently a spider came down from the ceiling during the seance. So when the lights come on, there's a spider on the table.
Nice.
And one woman is terrified of spiders and she freaks. So she's just like losing it. And she thought that spider had been materialized during the seance.
Mm-hmm.
And we had nothing to do with it. It was just the spider just dropped where it did. And then when Mark was taking the bell and stuff out of the box, there was straw in the box, old dried up straw. And so when he was taking the items out and putting them on the table, when he was telling the story at the beginning, when the candle was still lit, I guess he transferred some of the straw onto the table. And they swore, there was people saying, there's no way that straw materialized from the field where the little girl was abducted and on and on. So they created a better seance than what we had created, just from the things just by chance, like the dinner roll kind of stuff. It just happened to be there. And it was just a unique experience. And then of course then we reset for the next seance, and we did 2 seances, but Weird or What only showed like a minute and a half or something like that of the seance, and it's infrared camera, and of course I can't find the pictures right at the second, but let me see. The pictures are great. They're just like, ah. And you can see the people, they're holding hands like this, and they're like, the pictures, and they were really, really upset. But one woman, and this is one of the things I talk about with disclaimers, and I just did an interview with a mentalist called Carl, what is his name? Kent. Do you guys know Kent Axel? I just did an interview with him. We got a little bit into a back and forth on Facebook because Kent Axel Jr., I just interviewed with him because he has a channel called Kent Talks Magic or something. And Dustin Dean was plugging this guy saying, oh yeah, this guy's awesome. You guys know Dustin Dean probably. So I know Dustin Dean too, because he also he works with psychic, on psychics like I do in my work. So Dustin Dean had shared one of his videos, and it was about disclaimers a little bit in the mentalism world. And I am like, no, man, we don't do that. This is silly. Come on now. How insulting. I think his gig was, he was trying to say that, you got to do some kind of disclaimer. And I'm like, why would you want to piss off your audience? Are you trying to tell them that they're stupid or something? So Mark and I had a lot of discussions about disclaimers, because obviously I'm coming from the scientific skepticism world, and he's coming from the magic and mentalism world and the psychic world. So we had a lot of discussions about this, and a lot comes down to the venue is your disclaimer. And, you know, I mean, it's too hard to get into. But anyway, so Kent and I got into a little back and forth on Facebook a couple weeks ago about this. And he was saying that the tricks of the psychics are that psychics use mentalism tricks, or mentalists use psychic, whatever he was saying. I'm like, you have no clue, dude. You really have no clue. I would do, that is my life. I spend hours on psychics, mediums, and psychic mediums are not using mentalism tricks. So I was kind of calling him out and saying, you know, you get over your ego. And it was, anyway, so he invited me to be on his podcast, his YouTube channel. So that hasn't come out yet. It should be out any day. I recorded with him a little over a week ago. We talked for 3 hours. So I don't know what he's doing to the video. He's cutting a lot out. I didn't record. I should have recorded. But we ended up getting along a little bit, but I thought he was just young and didn't get it. But I was trying to explain to him that mentalism is an art form. Psychics are grieving, are really going after people and getting and harming them. That's it's nothing to do with mentalism. They're not even apples and oranges. They're so different. And for him to not know that, I was kind of saying that, you know, you're just clueless. He has a gig in Vegas. He does a show called Ghost Stories. But we got along fine. He invited me to go to his show, and if I'm ever in Vegas again. But when that comes out, I'll share it up or I'll give it to Andrew and he could share it and you guys can tell me what you think. But I was kind of not, because I'm not a mentalist and I'm coming at it from a different perspective. I'm the longtime girlfriend of a mentalist. And I'm still really active in this kind of, I'm not really, but I am. But I felt like I could say my thoughts. And
yeah.
And if I want to be a jerk about it, I can be a jerk about it, because I didn't like his attitude. We kind of look like we get along, I think, towards the end. But as I said, I don't know how he's going to edit this video.
Yeah. Yeah. From
Okay.
3 hours to 3 minutes.
Who knows?
You know?
But yeah, he doesn't have a very big YouTube channel, but you never know. I mean, I don't think the mentalism world, other than Andrew and Susan, you know, that what happens is a magisterium, which is a different kind of mentalism kind of a thing. I don't think a lot of people really want to know what I have to say about stuff, but
well, they should. They need to know it.
It's different. That's why I wanted to really show you guys some of the props. I thought you would like that kind of stuff. And
oh man, that was great. That was so good.
Some of the stuff that you haven't, just what he used to use. And as I said, I've got all kinds of things that he used to have
yeah,
just all over my house. I mean, I'm still going through stuff and I'm not selling anything yet. I'm or if I will, but I don't have any grandchildren or anybody to leave this to. So I don't know. My kids might have to deal with it someday.
Before we end it all, because we have about 30 minutes left, we'll open this up to questions, but I get the first one. So if people want to see more of Mark's videos, where can they go? Where can they see these?
You can find them on my YouTube channel. I have a playlist from Mark. I should double check while I have it. My YouTube channel is called Psychics Explained. And
Psychics
that
Explained.
YouTube channel is let me show you what it looks like so you can, it'll be on the screen.
Okay.
But here's my YouTube channel. Stop that. I'm getting to a point where I really do. I'm forgetting what I'm doing. Okay, this is my YouTube channel. It's called Psychics Explained. That's me right there. And you'll see there's a playlist. Probably. I do all kinds of videos. I'm really interested in readings and what's going on in the world of mediumship and how it's really affecting people, how it is they look like they're real. And that's usually, I've done a couple talks of the magisterium, and that's usually what I kind of talk about.
Yep.
This one is a playlist right here.
Could you possibly put the link to that into the chat? Make it easier. Thank you. I think I already follow you, but I want to make sure that others can.
Is that you, Dan? I think that's who said it. Who said that?
That was Grable.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah. Can't see you guys really well. This has got some of the different things that Mark did. Secrets of the Psychic.
The Amazing Randy. Yep.
Here's the Magistorium when I was at. Some of these stories I've told, some of them I don't. He was a friend of James Randi. I was too. But Mark was. We were friends for different reasons. Because here's the weird of what. This is the. I don't want to play this. I certainly don't want to do that. But let me see if I can show any photos. I'm wearing the same shirt again. I do have other shirts, you guys. I do. I really do.
It's a lucky
But
shirt.
I'm always cold. Here's some of the photos that this is all pitch black, but because the cameras are using it makes it look like it makes it look like it's real. You know. And then here is, let me see if I hit play. This is from the show. That's not me. They're just showing for some reason. I've turned the audio off on there. Okay, that's me. See me back there?
Yeah.
I'm about to drop the French horn onto the table right there. I can see the glitter of it. And Mark's starting to stand up a little bit there too. And the people are rocking back and forth. And I'm going to take that thing and I'm going to hit it as close to the middle as I can so I don't want to hurt anybody's hands.
Right.
There we go. Let's see if it shows any of the other faces. There it goes. And then she's screaming and he's, ah, and then I'm out of there. And there's Mark. She's like, ah. Oh, I was going to say about the disclaimer. Hold on a second. Let's see what happens. And there's Brian Dunning talking about what happened. I don't think Brian knew what we were doing. He's just watching. Here I am touching people.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just showing recreations. Anyway, so talking about disclaimers, what I talk about whenever I've talked at the Magistorium about this is I think that there may be times that you will have to, you guys as mentalists are on the front lines, the way I look at it. And there's a lot of harm done by psychic mediums, a lot. It's really, really awful out there. And you guys have no idea because thankfully you're busy working on your art. But what I get to do is I see the awfulness. So one of the things I talk about is I think sometimes in the mentalism world, you may have to break character to explain to people what actually is going on, and that you don't have to explain the whole thing. You don't have to explain, he's a mail writer or whatever. But I think that sometimes we do need to have to say to some people who are obviously terrified. I mean, this woman with the spider, she's like, you knew she wasn't going to be able to sleep well. And I think, and it doesn't have to be you. It could be somebody in your entourage, somebody in your world could pull them aside and say, hey, I see that you really had a real effect on you, what happened. And I just want you to understand that what was going on, this is a mentalist. It is just an effect. It's all faked. I'm not going to explain how, but I want you to understand because you don't look like you're going to sleep well tonight or you're going to lose it. So pulling them off separately into another area and having a quiet talk with people, I think is probably a kindness we should do in some cases. And that was one of the things I explained to Kent. And I said, and use that as you have to, I don't think getting up on stage and saying, hey, everybody, I know I just appeared on stage and on the show of Hamilton, and I got all the period dress and I know all the songs, but I'm an actor and I am not actually Hamilton, Alexander Hamilton. We shouldn't have to explain. David Radcliffe shouldn't have to get up and say, I'm really not Harry Potter. I really don't fly around on a broom. That's insulting, I think. Mm-hmm. But there's some rare cases where it may have an effect on people that is just beyond healthy for them. And I think pulling them aside and maybe having a quiet moment with them. And I think that's what, I don't remember if Mark had a talk with this woman or if Brian Dunning or somebody else did. I think it might've been Brian Dunning who pulled the woman aside and said, that spider that came down was just a spider. We're in an old warehouse that was not designed for that to be there. It just, spiders come into buildings. And it just got into the room. Just a freak thing. And, she calmed down, I think, a lot. But
Good.
I guess when you touch all visitors, you could have a spirit message. Me too.
Yeah, I guess so. Me too.
Me too.
But
Yeah. I got another
What other
question,
questions?
if nobody else has one. Keeping in the spirit in the spirit of James Randi, actually. So, you spent some time with James Randi.
yeah,
And you probably hit this question before, but I'm curious because I've never heard you answer it.
it's right there.
All right, so yeah. What have you even been close to finding actual psychic?
No,
Nothing, not even
no,
questionable.
no.
I love that. I love that.
You can't communicate with the dead, Andrew. Come
Okay.
on now.
Okay.
Come on now. You guys know that. So Mark wrote the book Psychic Blues. This
Psychic
came
Blues,
out,
yes.
he had written this years ago, but when he met me, then I went and I said, let's get this thing published. And I got it, I edited it, and he found a publisher, and then Randy wrote the foreword to it. Somewhere in here. So Randy wrote the foreword. I don't even know if you can get this book anymore. I think it's only available on audiobook, and Mark narrated it. It's really great. Yeah, no. I never found anything that even slightly, nothing that even has ever made me go, It's all cold reading. It's just
All cold reading, yeah.
it's almost all. There's a very few that are hot reading,
Yeah.
but most psychics use cold reading, and it's kind of like the UFO epidemic and stuff. You know, if there's something that seems like it could be otherworldly,
Yeah.
it's because they didn't. The picture's grainy, and they don't tell you where it was. You know, and it's just, you know, it's a bad photo, it's a bad video. If you have the information, like if you can, people are always telling me their stories. Oh, there was this time that my friend told me this. Is like, okay, that's nice. You're telling me a ghost story. You're telling me something that is fun. I love ghost stories. I love all that stuff. But don't try to tell me that's fact unless you got audio or video. And even still, I might be a little suspicious about that.
Of course.
But they don't. They're just relying on their memory or something somebody told somebody. And then when they do tell me a story and I say, can I see the audio on that? And if I get to see the audio, which is very rare,
Yeah.
you can tell that what they're telling you is not what is on the audio. It's wordplay and tricks. And most psychics are cold reading, and an awful lot of these lower level psychics, which is what I'm really focus on, is the people who have no real name. They're just psychics that, you know, have like some fans. Almost a lot of them really think they're talking to the dead. They don't realize they're cheating. They I don't know if you can hear that cat or not.
Yeah.
The shut eye.
Knows it's time to eat. Hold on. The only time they want my attention, the only time is when it gets to eating time. I'm talking to people. Shush, shush. But no, there's
From
nothing.
personal experience, I wouldn't even trust video anymore.
Yeah, I agree. Video, the only reason I like the video is like I watch Tyler Henry or some of the others, and you can see the person in the audience is giving a lot of feedback.
Yeah.
So one psychic I'm working on right now is an Australian psychic named Dave the Medium. Isn't that great? Dave the Medium. Yeah.
Wonder what he
Give me
does.
a freaking break. Doesn't even have a last name. He's in Edinburgh, and he's from Australia. He was in Edinburgh, and I sent one of my people who helps me went in and watched the show and recorded it, and then Dave the Medium released his audio. So I'm making videos right now of the breaking down all the readings he's doing. He started out with a hot read, and then 4 cold readings, and then he went to break. So I haven't started releasing. I haven't looked at the next part of the thing. But I think it's going to be cold reading, hot.
Yeah.
That's what I think what he's going to do, because, you know, that just seems to be his style. But you can hear him talking to a woman in the audience, and he's on stage and the camera's on him, and you can't see what she's doing or what she's saying. And then they turn the camera on her, and you can see her with her Yeah. Oh no, yeah, you can see her. She's just like oozing it. She's just oozing it all over the place. And if you asked her later, she would probably say, "Oh no, I didn't say anything. I didn't give anything away."
Right.
They have no clue what they're doing. It's why should they? They think he's real.
Yeah, and you can explain it to them, and it's been explained in multiple different places, including just public media like TV shows and such, and they still just ignore it. It's
Well,
true.
exactly, Andrew. Well, if somebody has spoken to the dead, they think they've had a message from their dear child or their husband or whatever. They're gone. You're not going to be able to explain anything to them because they cognitively have already that's real. I mean, it'd be like if you tried to if you made it if you proved to them that it wasn't real and they weren't ready for it, it's gonna be like the death coming right back at them again. And it's I don't know if that would be healthy mentally for most people. So what you have to try to do is I'm trying to get to them before they get into a cycle of grief so that they can kind of see this coming, like, oh, I'm not elderly and I can still use my computer and stuff, so somebody should explain scams to me and
Yeah.
how phishing works and all that, not waiting until they're in decline mentally and then trying to explain it to them. You got to do it early.
Mhm.
Also, I try to hold on. Also, they're like
Or
teenagers. So as he walks out the door, he gives me one last meow.
Right.
What you try to do is you try to say, I know you had an experience. You heard from your departed loved one, but let's look at this other medium and this other reading. Let's have this. Let's check it out and see what we think, because you want them to save face. They need to be allowed to figure it out for themselves.
Yes.
So you would say, oh, I think this is fascinating. I've seen all these videos on TV and I've seen all this stuff, but here's this one people are telling me is really real. Let's look at it together and you tell me what you think and I'll tell you what I think. And you can show the video clip or whatever it is, and you look at it together and they'll pick up on stuff and you'll pick up on stuff and you can praise them and you can say, yeah, you're right. I didn't catch that. You're on it. And all you're doing is you're not being a jerk, an asshole about it. You're just kind of explaining it. And then they're going, oh, yeah. And I'm never touching their own reading. I would never do that. But, maybe the seed will come later and they'll say, yeah. I kind of wonder if that might have been what happened to me. I wanted to believe so badly that I just really didn't think about it. But you know what? I think it might have been the same, because the tricks are all, I mean, there's only so many tricks they use. And so, what's used on one is probably used on another. But that's kind of how I've been trying to do it, is I've been trying to approach it from a, empathy perspective. But most people, what they do is they come over to my YouTube channel and they leave cruel comments, and they're not watching the video.
Yeah, they're not watching videos.
They're absolutely not. They got blinders on. They do not. It's like being on team flat earth or whatever,
Right,
team
exactly.
Bigfoot. They don't care. They don't want to have their they don't want to be challenged.
Yeah,
They
they don't
want
want
to
to know the secrets behind the magic show.
Well, yeah, and in some cases these people need to believe.
Yeah, they do.
It's not about wanting to believe. They need it.
Yeah.
A lot of them are in grief. So
Yeah, I mean, you've told us stories before about people losing
some of them are true.
losing a loved one, and then losing their house, and then losing their their stuff, and then
That's
going
more of the
broke.
cursed psychics. I don't usually deal with cursed psychics,
Yeah.
but those are the ones that have a curse on. Oh, I see some dark cloud over you, and so I don't really deal with that world, but I have shown some where and there's a lot of them out there that this is, I think, what you're talking about, Andrew, is where and I showed this, I think, at the Magisterium last year, is a woman named Trudy, and the psychic was telling her, Trudy saying, my cousins want me to move. They want me to sell my house and move. And the psychic's like, no, I don't think you should be moving. And you're thinking maybe she should be moving. Who is this psychic to be telling her this nonsense? I had in the series coming up that I'm going to be recording soon with Dave the Medium. I was told to watch for. I was told by the guy who attended. He said, "Watch for this one reading he does. It's a woman in the audience whose sister has died of some genetic problem, and she's saying she doesn't want to get, or she hasn't gotten tested for this genetic thing, whatever it is." And Dave the Medium says, "You're fine. You don't have that genetic marker."
Jeez.
And so maybe she won't go get it done. Maybe she doesn't have it. I don't know. But it's that kind of stuff. I see that all the time where they're giving health related information coyly, especially since they don't think somebody like myself would be the recording. They think they're just with their 50 believers that are holding on to. They don't understand there's people like me who will tape it and will release it. But I get all the time people are giving health advice, and
is that legal in America?
It's legal.
Is that legal to give health advice when you don't have education?
Well,
Yeah,
nobody's going to do anything about it. Who's going to do anything about it?
Yeah.
They would have to report it, and why would they do that? And they'd go,
That's right.
what the police would probably do is, "What are you listening to psychics for, you daft?" I mean, that's what they would say. They would, most times the law or the police are just going to belittle the person reporting it, especially if it's a woman, which is going to be a woman because that's almost all the mediums are after. So you just go, why would you fall for that in the first place? She's a psychic. Of course she's fake. I'm talking.
Hey, real quick, you said you're doing an interview with Dave the Medium.
No, I'm not doing an interview. I'm doing a series of videos on him, and I've released about 5, and I've got about 5 more to go because I watched. What I usually do is I run the video with captions, and then I break in and I say, "Okay, this is probably what's happening." I only watch it once. I'm not going to sit there and watch it a bunch of times. It's hard enough to watch these things once.
Yeah.
So I'll go through it once, and then I'll leave my commentary, and then so I did 5 videos on Dave the Medium. And then I stopped it because he's going to take it. He's taking a break. That's where it stopped. And I said, okay, I'll record the next 5 videos soon. But I do all kinds. I mean, I did Sally Morgan today, a little like a sort of Sally Morgan the thing. I did a John Edward thing. He's such a douche. But if I can say that here, can I say that?
Yes, of course.
He's a effing
Tell us
douche.
how you really feel.
I mean, Nancy Guthrie, how many months are we on? 4 months now? John Edwards says, "Oh, well, I can't interfere in finding her because they haven't asked me. The police hasn't asked me and the family hasn't asked me, and I can only interfere if they ask." And it's like he's out on the road right now pushing a book that he co-wrote with an FBI agent about his years helping this FBI agent solve crimes. And he can't go and give advice to or tell us where Nancy Guthrie is until the end. Why wouldn't they ask him? If he's this big star that's working with the FBI and he talks to the dead, you would think the family or the police would have been desperate enough to go to John Edward, but no. It's just impossible. There's another psychic out there. Her name is Alison Dubois. She used to have a TV show called The Medium. She's on tour right now in Australia. She's from Arizona, which is where Nancy Guthrie's from and abducted from. Mm-hmm. This woman is in Australia doing cold case workshops.
Oh my God.
So they've got these people, they had to select the person ahead of time because they're supposed to get permission from the family to do a cold case. She's picked out 3 cases. And she's going to do like a workshop, a paid workshop where she's going to sit and give a bunch of BS, preying on the deaths of these poor people that are like decades old cold cases. And she can't solve the case in her own home, her own state. When asked, She says, "Oh, I can't get involved in that because it interferes with I don't get involved with anything as a current cold case or current missing person case because that's interfering and I can't do that." It's like I would rip her a new one if I had a chance on TV. I mean, if I had a chance to speak to her face to face, it would not be pretty. I would be all up and down her ass because
Nice.
if she can speak to the dead and you're not interrupting. If you've got real information, which you know she doesn't because she's making up crap. But if she had real information and she's not going to give it to the family,
No.
I mean, Nancy's probably rotting in a field somewhere right now, or in a burlap bag or something. Why would you do that to this family? I mean, that's just the most cruel thing. They can't even move on with their lives. Their children, their grandchildren. Everybody's at a standstill in that family pretty much until something is learned. And the neighbors, everybody's on high alert. You know, who's next? You know, is there going to be another thing? Just wrong. And most people don't even think of that. They just, oh, well, I'd like to get a reading from John Edward.
Right?
Anyway, anybody have any other questions? I just tend to rant. And I know
I got one.
I've got go ahead.
I was going to say, what's your opinion on how they're doing, how these psychics are now doing pet readings?
Same thing. It's just BS.
I know it's BS, but I'm thinking they switched over to pet readings just because they got tired of being called out for fakes by humans.
No, they've been doing pet readings for years and years and years, decades. They tell me, like, I see some of these psychics will do religious figures. They're like, oh, Mary Magdalene is here and she's telling, or Archangel Gabriel is here and he's telling me that we all need to be nice to each other and grow flowers or whatever. You can't check. Same thing with a dog. I mean, I've been wanting to do a psychic sting on psychics, come in with an animal that's not mine and, and see if the psychic can figure out that it's not my dog or whatever. But
yeah, I mean, my girlfriend likes watching
them. What's it going to do? You can't, if you don't have a venue, what good is it? I've exposed psychics.
What's it going to do? Turn around and say, you're full of whatever?
Yeah, unless you have a venue. So I'm not doing stings anymore for a while, at least not until I have another venue. I have to have, I could do these and release them on my channel and people go, good job, Susan. Congratulations. Thank you so much. But unless it's going to get out to a larger audience outside of the mentalist or the skeptic community, what good is that? I'm preaching to the choir at a certain point. So same with the pet psychic. I could put on a sting. I could do it. I could make this elaborate thing. But if I'm just going to be talking to people who watch my videos on my YouTube channel, which is like maybe 200 views, they're going to be like, yeah, we knew pet psychics were a bunch of bunk. Good job, Susan.
Yeah.
You could probably turn it into a comedy skit. I see you sniffing someone's butt.
Yeah. There's a lot of great stuff you could do with it, but humor is good. It sells really well. But I'm just kind of done right at the moment because I've done two big stings, Operation Banana Cream Pie and Operation Gobble Gotcha. And I don't know if I'm talking about them at the Magisterium or not this year. I guess you guys have to tell me.
I hope you are.
But, well, I've been talking about cold reading, and I think that we don't understand cold reading as well as I think we understand cold reading, but I don't think the mentalist community understands cold reading from the aspect of the psychic and the sitter. I don't. That's kind of what I've been. I just did a talk in New Mexico, and that was my first time with this topic. And I'm going to be in Oakland in a couple months in June. I don't know, sometime coming up. I'm going to do cold reading, and I'm thinking I might do that. Everything could change. You guys aren't. It's September.
Yeah.
I'm just a casual kind of person. I don't really. I'm not like you guys where you have to have it down. I'm more of I have a general idea what I'm going to do, and then I'll make up the rest of it as I go. I'm certainly not a perfectionist.
The ironic part is it looks more professional when you do it.
because I'm making it up and I'm
Yeah.
totally relaxed.
We're all
'Cause,
prepared for it, and you're better.
yeah, Mark was just the worst. I couldn't even handle him just before a show. He would drive me freaking nuts, checking and rechecking and checking and making sure it's there. And then once he gets there, he's so casual about it. Like I said, he'd make up stuff and just do stuff he wanted to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at some point, but beforehand, it was like, I don't even want to be in the same room as you. I don't even want to be in the house with you. You're an asshole.
Mhm.
You guys know performance anxiety and all that. But
Oh, yeah.
Performance anxiety, yeah.
especially performing in front of mentalists. But it's not that big a deal here. But I guess we're getting close to the time. This would have been Mark's 75th birthday. He was taken way too young, but he found out he had prostate cancer in 2018, and he went through all his treatment, and it prolonged his life. And then it kind of came back again, and then went through more treatment, and that gave him a really good quality of life. As you guys have heard me at the Magisterium talk about many times, is that he had a really, really awesome, at least the last 15 years with me, he had a pretty damn good life. And
Nice.
when he died, it was surrounded by his friends and family. And then we heard from the mentalism community. You guys were just so gracious. And I know if he was looking down at us, what he isn't, he would really appreciate it. And that he would really appreciate that I was allowed to give this little talk today too, because that would be a big deal to him to be remembered, and he won't be forgotten, trust me, because I'm saturating. There's no way this guy is going to be forgotten anytime in the next few decades. He's in too many books, he's in too many things. And like I said, you can find his work on themarkedward.com, and I might be having some of his books for sale at the Magisterium too again. I
Okay,
think
good.
that's
So themarkedwards.com, and your Psychics Explained video YouTube channel.
Psychics Explained is my YouTube channel, and you guys can contact me. I'm very approachable. You can find me on Facebook Messenger or email at susangerbic@yahoo.com or gmail.com.
Excellent,
Facebook.
excellent.
I'm very easy to find.
You said
quick
just a few
question.
minutes ago about this. Sorry, Tom. About your.
Go ahead.
You don't think people are watching, but thankfully we are recording this, and a lot of people do go through our videos. I'm gonna highlight this and make this part of our group files.
Of course, and I appreciate you allowing me to do that, and I appreciate that all the work you guys are doing to keep mentalism awesome. It's such a wonderful art form. I'm grateful and thankful that you guys are allowing me to come to the Magisterium each year. Yeah. And I enjoy meeting a lot of the people that I meet, and it's been really fun. I mean, you're just such an awesome community, and it's nice to be the least associated with it.
Yeah.
Did somebody else have a last question? I think somebody did.
Yeah, it was Tom.
Yeah, I do. So after you did that Weird or What show, did you explain to the group afterwards that it was all just tricks?
Nope, we didn't say anything because the show gave that. Brian Dunning was he came in and he explained the effects and what happened, and here's probably what they did, and so he gave that up. And then part of the show is William Shatner comes in and does a voiceover and explains more. So we didn't need to. The people who did the seance with it, they kind of were stunned. Well, they were stunned when it happened, and afterwards they were kind of like, they interviewed each person, and it was obviously for a TV show.
Yeah.
So they knew that it was, obvious. They're in Hollywood,
Yeah.
It's obviously a gimmick. And so only the one person that I know of that we felt like she needed to have some extra attention. Everybody else was like, "Oh, that was great, man. That was great," and they walked out, believing or not. But when the TV show came out, they would have known that he was a mentalist, he was a magician, and so on. You got to check out the episode. It's called the Skull Experiment, I think that's what it's called. The Skull Experiments. We were trying to reproduce what had happened in these this old time back in England. Best seance ever.
Excellent.
Evidence.
Are you pretty sure that they did watch the episode?
Well, who wouldn't? They're on it.
Good point.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it
Right.
came out a couple
Yeah.
months after they were
Some shows don't tell the like what the name of the show is. They give somebody money and
I think they knew.
Yeah.
all right.
I think it was known because they had to sign contracts and stuff like that. And like I said, I was on camera a little bit and I had to sign, because I was on count thing. Yeah. Oh no, they knew. They knew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We did. Mark did brain games, and he's done all kinds of stuff. I mean, he was the go-to guy on psychics if they needed it for TV. And brain games, he did Ouija boards, and a lot of people believed in the Ouija board. And by the time they left, so the show kind of explained what happened, the ideomotor effect and all that. But while it was happening, when the Ouija board was going on, it looked believable. And then Mark made them put blindfolds on.
Mm-hmm.
And then they obviously couldn't do the Ouija board. It was landing on spaces that didn't have any writing on them, and numbers instead of letters. It was just obvious, even though at the end some of the people were like, oh no, that's still real, I believe more than ever. I think that one woman said that and got in an argument with Mark. I wasn't there because it was filmed in New York, and he was sent there all, they paid for him, they weren't going to pay for me.
Yeah.
But when the show aired, I mean, those people probably felt like this big because they explained it, Brain Games explained it, and it was obvious what happened. And I hope they didn't get laughed at too much by the family, but I would expect
that'd be pretty cruel.
They were probably like, why did you believe that? That's so fake. They'd be like, well, it just felt real at the time. Or they might have even been putting it on a little bit to say, oh, well, I wanted to be on the show, so I've got to make it sound like, that's what a lot of the celebrities, I think, do on these Tyler Henry shows and stuff, is they play along even though they know it's fake because they want to be on the show. They want to be the show is Tyler Henry's show. So if you come in like, oh, come on now, you just read my Wikipedia page, give me a fucking break. That was so hokey. You're not going to make the show. These people want to be on TV. They're celebrities. Give me a break. And they're celebrities that are like on the wane. Boy George and Nancy Grace, and people that remember 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And they want to be back in the TV's eye, of course.
Right. Good point. All right, I think we're going to end this now. So, Susan, thank you for being on the show. I really, really appreciate it. And also,
thanks for asking me.
Thank you for doing what you do.
We love hearing your talk.
Who said that? I can't see who's there.
That would be Tracy.
Tracy.
Oh, hi, Tracy. And I also just saw, oh, yeah, thank you. Here they all come.
There. Yep.
There you go. And I just see Crispy. Crispy makes a hi to your wife for me. But,
I will.
It's great to see you guys. Hopefully some of you guys will show up at the Magisterium in September. We can sit and we can share stories, and I can tell you gossip. Some of it's even true.
So, some of it depends on the drink.
Over breakfast or lunch. I mean, these are people that Mark told me stories about. He's dead, so unless you're going to do a séance for him and ask him, I mean, I could just be making up crap. I mean,
I'm gonna remember to pick your brain during the Magisterium.
Yeah.
You got to buy me a drink, and I don't really drink,
I
so
do
it
that.
just only takes one Crispy, and I will be more talkative than you know.
Then take some notes, Crispy, because I want to know.
I always know the dirt. I'm a talkative, friendly kind of gal, and that's how it works.
Excellent. All right. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thanks, Susan.
Take care, everybody. I got to go.
Enjoyed your presentation.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Have a good one.
Night all.